night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horrornightoasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am here.
How have you been this week, sir?
Exhausted. And ready to talk horror.
After yesterday, I'm definitely ready to talk some horror because I've been sort of preparing this week, and there's been a lot of things going on here recently. Because I had to deal with a family member having surgery and a bunch of other stuff. And I've kind of been on the fence about it. But I finally, before we get into our pick for our Halloween grab bag, I thought I'd discuss Scarefest this past week. And I usually go on Saturdays, but they sold out on Saturday tickets just for everything in general. And I know this Friday and Saturday, it was crazy. Just like looking online and getting the lowdown details of like how things are going. But again, I'm not going for autographs anymore. I'm going just to look at the vendors, buy movies. That's my main thing nowadays to these conventions. And honestly, it's for the better because people are. Again, everyone has their fandom. I understand that. So I had to leave just because I wanted to get in there without having to wait hours on end to get in the door because there are lines wrapped around the building. So I had to leave I left the house around 6:24. I got there around 7:40 at the arena, and I waited in line until 11 o'clock. And I wasn't too far back from the door, basically. Relatively easy, to get in. And the line started to add, more people started to file in, and again, people are going crazy because apparently Matthew Lillard's the big thing this year, and everyone was growing crazy for Matthew Lillard. So apparently, I guess Five Nights at Freddy's last year did something. Plus, I guess there's a resurgence of Scream. But anyway, he's like Scream's always been big, but just like for some reasons, it's like his fandom's been through the roof here lately. And again, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that stuff anymore. But more power to him. And I'm happy for those that got to see him and deal with the craziness that was his line and autographs and photo ops and all that stuff. That stuff's ridiculous in my book, and I don't see a reason for it anymore. But I digress. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. Again, I was that way when I first started, but I sort of came into my own and realized it's for nothing. I have autographs on VHS, and they're just on a shelf somewhere now. Like, oh yeah, it's again, that's if you get something signed. If 8x10, if you had the space to showcase it, I understand that you'd want that. But nowadays, getting older, it's just not as it went. And plus prices, when you go there, when you first start out and everything's $20 to $25, and now you see people that you paid like $10 for asking $40, people that you paid $25 or $60, it gets to you, so you're not really wanting to pay those outlandish prices as you did when you were first started. So I kind of lucked out a little getting the prices that cheap, but it's just not the same as it once was. And again, that's convention talk's a whole nother thing. But anyway, let's get into the main stuff here. So I get in line. Again, Matthew Lillard walks past the line. People are going crazy. Richard Brake walks past the line, and Mike Nelson walks past the line. No one even bats an eye. Like, oh, that's Richard Brake. You know, I was just like, that's cool. But we get in there, and the first thing I do is Dark Sky Films has a booth, and like all their movies, their normal DVDs were $5, and their Blu-rays was $10. But over in the corner of their table, they had these tote bins of 2 for $5 DVDs, and I tell you, man, I bought a shitload because 2 for $5, you can't beat that. And it's plus a lot that I've been wanting to get off my list. You know, I got Witching and Bitching, Prey, just a bunch of them that I've been wanting for a while. So that was cool. And then I just walked the floors, looked at, vendors' tables, bought some more movies. I ran into the one guy I usually go see there. He runs Horrorland Media, and he just finished his movie, Mother Shucker, which we'll get a review in hopefully here in the next month or so after our marathon. Looking forward to that one. Justin Nichols, great guy. He's been there the past 3 years. I bought off of him each year he's been there, and always have. He's a great guy. He held back things for me as soon as he was announced to be there. Like, yeah, I'm coming back, and I messaged him, and he held back stuff, and I got it for him. He's a cool guy, and I'm always glad to buy stuff off of him. So I got a bunch of stuff off my want list off of him, and then the crazy thing happens is that there's on eBay, I was about to buy a movie called Attack of the Corn Zombies, and the person that got it was an executive producer, but he never got copies in, and so he refunded me the money. And then he just recently put it back up there, and I was about to get it, but something was saying just hold off. And I ran into Ann Myrna, who is a producer from Acrostar Films. They're based in Chicago, so I managed to get Attack of the Corn Zombies off of her and everything else that she produced and was a part of at her table. And she was nice. We talked. She signed everything, took a picture with me, and so that was awesome. Just just like randomness, just like that's great. So I got another zombie movie for my collection, which I'm happy to add, and they're working on a sequel to it. I think Return of the Corn Zombies, and I'm looking forward to checking that one out because again, zombies, and corn. It's like the second all these. It's something about corn, like this second movie related film about zombies and corn. The first one's like Welcome to Deer Creek, which we reviewed. So this is cool to see more corn zombies. And then I talked to, I believe his name was Troy, and he run the Blood, Lust, and Bourbon podcast. So we talked and for a little bit, and it was just like chit chatting. Sort of like, we've always been talking about trying to go to this, Scarefest together. And we tried to this year, but things got in the way and we weren't able to make it. And we're hoping, again, maybe next year or whenever things calm down, we can both, just, again, I wouldn't say get a table or anything because I don't know how well that would do, but, just walk around. It seems like you do better walking around than sitting in one area because you're able to get more stuff out there and talk to people. And again, when I was at the Dark Sky booth, the very first person I was talking to, like, we're talking about movies and recs, and I was like recommending this and talking about this film, and he was like saying, "Man, you can't beat the price," and like no one ever talks about movies anymore and recommendations, and it's like, yeah, that's true. And so like that was a great conversation to have, just like recommending stuff and talking about films. And I ran into my buddy Justin Ryan 1988 on YouTube. We've had a bunch of stuff happened where we discussed. He's been on the show as a co-host before, and he's just a good guy. I love talking to him and seeing if these things. The time was short this year because he's been there all weekend and he was heading out. But him and his buddies, it's always great talking to them. And it's like another thing is like, again, we don't talk about the movies. That's the one thing I think people are like missing out on. Like it's always about the edition or the 4K of this, the packaging, and like we're just not getting to the nitty gritty of what like got us into fandom in the first place. Back when in the 80s and the 90s growing up, we didn't have, of course you didn't have all these editions, and it's like it was the renting them and finding them and getting the word out. Like no one's talking about that now. It always has to be like the the next best edition out there. And again, I have nothing wrong with that, and the people finding that, that part of collecting and being a horror fan, I have no qualms. Again, as I said, everyone's different. I'm different. Ian's different. Everyone has their taste and the way that they like to view things differently as a horror fan, and that's what makes horror fandom unique. Everyone's different. If I like to watch the most obscure, weirdest shit out there, that's on me. If I want, everyone's different. If you want to wait 5 hours in line to meet Matthew Lillard, we're all different. We all have our qualms. And but then, like I said, man, it was a fun show. Again, I didn't really have any problems with the show because again, I didn't go there for autographs or photo ops. I went there for myself to buy things for myself and to add movies to my collection I didn't own. And that's what I did. I came out there with some fun conversations, recommending films to people, and just chit chatting and just getting to get out there. If we're all, and especially the indie filmmakers, like with Ann and them from Acrostar and Justin and Mother Shucker and all these things, just socializing, just getting the word out there, like, hey, check this out, check that out, check out our radio, check out the radio show if you want to. It's just that's what you want to do. You want to socialize and network, and that's I think at the end of the day that's what I did, and it was fun and I had a good time. The only bad thing is that when I was with not Justin, but Troy, I got a little grab bag and I had $100,000 in it, and I don't know what happened to it, but it didn't make it home with me. So I lost a candy bar, and I'm pissed because it's been a while since I had $100,000, and I was really looking forward to that. But Ian, I know you didn't go or anything, but what's your thoughts, and then we'll start up our review.
I mean, I'm very disappointed I couldn't go this year. But I'm hoping next year we can, you and I can get together. Maybe you and I can wear one of our t-shirts or something and just walk around and chit chat with people. And I think, anytime I ever go to a convention, I usually just go for myself. I don't usually bother with autographs, mostly because they cost money and I'm low on that. But, I think it's great that, we can go and we have a place that we can go and talk to strangers about, this niche little community that we've, created. And it's so interesting, like how we can just, go up to people and, know that we're going to have at least one thing in common. That's why I'm glad that these conventions exist. And, it's kind of sad that, these famous actors, like these old actors and like directors aren't getting as much recognition, like opposed to like, Matthew Lillard. But, I'm hoping that maybe a lot of these newer horror fans that went to Scarefest walked away with something they might have not have noted, didn't know existed and something,
Yeah.
That's, I think that's a good thing.
I mean, again, I'm not going to knock on people. I mean, look, the first convention I went to was in 2009. And again, it was my first convention. Of course, you're going to go crazy. I went down the line, just like, I want this sign, that sign, that sign, that sign, like but that's like when you first go, you're just happy and ecstatic and you want to, get everything that you can. And in a way, again, there's like some autographs that I have, like, oh yeah, like Priscilla Barnes, like I have no use for that autograph anymore, but I got it. But
right.
It's just like, again, like it was, I'm happy to meet her. She was a nice lady and everything, but again, it's just like sometimes it's like, yeah, I could have done without that or done without this. It's just, it is what it is. You live and learn as each convention goes along, and then you start to realize that these autographs aren't really all that up, because I know looking back, there's some movies like indie directors were just selling at these conventions that I didn't get a chance to grab because I didn't have enough money because I was getting autographs. And there's like one in particular where I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out what that movie was. And I want to, it looked awesome, but I already forgot it and I don't know the name of it. And I was just like, man, I wish I would have got that movie for $15 instead of that autograph for 20, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm looking at it nowadays with new eyes. You know, I've been doing that now for the past year. The last autograph I got was in 2019 with Clu Gulliver. And I'm kind of glad I got it because he's passed away now. And it went on a Return of the Living Dead VHS. And so that one I was okay with because he was up there in years and he wasn't in good health. And again, a year or two later, he was dead. So again, I'm going to regret that this year with Clive Barker because again, I don't know how many, because he's been poor health and he's going to quit doing conventions. And I've been wanting to meet Clive Barker, but I just think he was like $90 or $100, and I spent that on movies for myself that I'm going to watch and either enjoy or hate. And like his autograph's going to be on the VHS with the other ones. Like, yeah, but I don't show it out or anything. So again, it is what it is. I mean, it's a give and take. You know, you give what you take. And this one, you know, I'll take the loss of not getting his. And Tom Holland, director of Fright Night and Child's Play, and a couple other cast members of like Phantasm were there that I didn't meet when they were there in 2017. But I'm okay because again, like I've had my fun. I've done that. I'm kind of past it now. And maybe if one or two show up occasionally, maybe, but it's just not about, it's not that fun to collect like mainstream autographs anymore, even though again, Phantasm and all that stuff, they're not technically mainstream, but for the horror fan, they're mainstream. It's just the fact, and plus Reggie Bannister's getting up there in health too, so you don't know how many conventions he's going to be at, and you know you kind of need to get, you know, for those who haven't seen him, you probably need to beforehand. Hopefully nothing too bad happens to him. But you just want to, you know, it's like again, when I was getting excited for Angus Scrimm, and then he passed away that year. He was supposed to attend Scarefest, so you have to, you know, get the ones early that you think you can, because a lot of them are still going to be there years on, and I kind of wish I thought of that beforehand, because when I started in 2009, like I could have waited so many years down the road, you know, and got them. But nonetheless, it was still a fun show. I thought, again, I talked to people, I got movies, ran into a random tattoo artist, Richie Vomit, and he produced 2 movies that we'll probably be reviewing on a Boneyard episode, because like he shot them in like 2006, 2007. So that's definitely something. And like, I don't think you can get him on anything else now. So that would be cool to review his stuff for a potential Boneyard. And again, that Acrostar film stuff, you know, we might be tossing some of those up there to review. Even though I've already seen Attack of the Corn Zombies, we might get the sequel and review it, and a couple other things they'll be making in due time. And of course, Mother Shucker, we'll probably be reviewing that in next month. So it's just about the socializing and the networking now, where it's just the films, and that's what it's always been about. And it's what we need to go back to. And like, we don't need to worrying about all these editions and 4Ks and all that stuff. It's about the films and getting, you know, just talking about things that got us into the genre in the first place. And like, we're forgetting about that. And that's the one thing, like I see all these people talk about, is like all these upgrades. This needs to be upgraded. This needs to have this edition, that edition. It's like, we really, we need to talk about the movies, you know, like I know we want more movies out there to be out there and be easy, more easily accessible, but you know, it's just not the way it is. We still just watch the movie and talk about it. I mean, if it's not out, it's not out. You know, if it's not on 4K, who cares? Talk about the movie. You know, like we want a lot of people to see some of the stuff we reviewed on the Boneyard, but that's near impossible. You know, so we still talk about it and we still put it out there. You know, for those that hopefully someone comes along like, that's an interesting movie. I like to see that. You know, it's just, that's the way it is. That's what it always should be about.
Right. Well, that's what I, you know.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that one of the big things that I would like to, when I go to a horror convention, because I still haven't been to specifically a horror convention. I've gone to other types, and just talking about horror, I think, would be like one of the big selling points, especially if you're there. And then
Yeah.
then you can fill me in on all the things I might have like somebody talking about a movie I haven't seen. Like you'll have to let me know if that one is actually as worth watching as they say. But
But yeah, that's my little take on Scarefest this year. And again, like I said, if you just go for yourself and like find like again, even if you're not a movie person, well, again, you have to be a movie person to be at these things. But if you don't like collect physical stuff, I mean, there's still always interesting little knickknacks and like like handmade things that are always interesting to add to the collection. I mean, there's like this one seller selling these like little handmade Belials, and I was interested in them. But I just didn't have the what I didn't really need it. Like what do I need? I love to have it. Again, I'd like to have bought a t-shirt too, but I didn't buy a t-shirt either. So, but nonetheless, we'll go ahead and cut over to our Halloween grab bag marathon pick this week. And it literally just came out. Well, it's the next day, but it literally came out this Monday, since it's a little bit over into Tuesday now. But our film for review is Carved, and it is a pretty little fun little Halloween movie. And it's based off a short that came out a few years ago, which as a short, it's fine. I think they actually kind of worked a little bit more with the story into the feature. So I'm looking, but nonetheless, we'll get into that here in a minute. But Carved, it is 1993 at Cedar Creek, and there is a pumpkin contest. There's like sort of this fall festival in a sense, where there's plays going on for the town. And Bill is played by DJ Qualls, and I don't know if he's like the town organizer or the mayor or something, but he's like running everything, trying to get everything tip top shape for the festival and make sure everything goes off without a hitch. And so we're introduced to a couple characters, but mainly we're introduced to Kira and Trevor, which is her brother. And we also have Cody and Shane, and they're also a part of the acting group. And they're starting to get some traction, and where one of them is going to be going off to New York for a bigger, off Broadway stage play. And this kind of puts Kira a little bit at, I wouldn't say at ease, but she's kind of upset that he's going to be leaving to go do his thing. But nonetheless, at the same time, there's this history of this chemical plant that had a chemical spill, and it's right beside. It's almost like Return to Nukem High, not Return, but like Class of Nukem High, where it's like the nuclear plants beside the school, but this one's like the nuclear plants beside the college, the town, the farm, and that kind of produced a chemical spill which caused the ground to seep and a bunch of stuff to happen. And technically what happened is one of the pumpkins is sort of misshapen, disfigured, just not a good looking pumpkin. It's ugly. It's just not a good pumpkin. But that doesn't stop, I believe his name's Clint, from going ahead and cutting it off the vine and including it as part of the pumpkins to get carved for the pumpkin carving contest. And so Kira's brother Trevor decides to pick the ugly pumpkin, and so everyone gets ready for the annual contest and starts carving, and that causes the pumpkin to become, well, he's still sentient, but he's alive, as Victor Frankenstein would say it, and goes off killing all the people that were a part of the pumpkin carving contest. And that sets into motion our band of survivors trying to outwit the pumpkin as it grows vines and uses those vines to stab and behead and dismember people. And overall, it's a decent little movie. It has its slow moments, and but it does have some decent practical effects, which I kind of like was not expecting, but I was like, that's a welcome change. It honestly, the best way to describe it, it felt like one of those Saturday night Sci-Fi Channel premieres back in the day, like to go along like with the Pumpkinhead sequels came out. This would like be playing like if around that sort of vein of films. It just had that I wouldn't say full moon aesthetic, but it just had one of those like it would definitely be a Sci-Fi Channel premiere, um, maybe like the late thousands, early tens, somewhere in there, um, when they were still doing it, like go along like Dragon Wasps and just something stupid like that, where it's just like over the top, stupid, like Bone Eater, Scarecrow. There's another one like Scarecrow. Just those stupid Saturday movie premieres that would been on TV. So it has that going for it. It also has like the vibe of Cooties in a sense, where it's like they're sort of like overplaying a little bit, but it's like serious, but still like joking in a way, and like comedy aspect here and there. But nonetheless, they're just they get trapped in a barn or a shed, and each character has like their own quirks about it. One's, you know, Bill, the DJ Qualls, his character, he's sort of like he's gay apparently, and he has his friend, the likes Brian Adams. That's like an underlying joke, and then like Trevor is like has a crush on Maddie, Kira's friend, and like there's a little underlying thing that goes along there that plays into the film. There's Barb, who's sort of like the wisecracking, older lady friend, that's Kira's best friend in a sense. And then you have again a few other ones come in there. Clint, who's like the stoner pothead who runs the corn truck. Who is the cameo? I forget, Chris Elliott, the cameo. He was on the one working on the corn truck, and like that's random, like random Chris Elliott out of nowhere. So it's kind of cool to see all these people. And again, like it plays out like your typical, like being stalked by something. It's like honestly, you could just like take it out and like all those random alligator crocodile movies, and it's sort of like the same thing, but just switch it out with a pumpkin. I didn't mind it. It was fine. It does, stall a little bit here and there for like character development. Not that that really matters or anything, but it was fine. Kira, again, like she's trying to, be a good sister and, had the normal, sisterly love and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like the pumpkin, he carved up a bunch of people and did some decent things. His vines coming there. It has the guy from Mr. Crockett as the news reporter. He's in there for a little bit, and like he gets carved up in an interesting way. And again, it just goes on for there. And then like, again, there's a little bit more to it that's kind of reminded me of like the alligator crocodile situation, because like a little bit later on in the film, there's baby pumpkins. So it kind of like mother protecting her spawn. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I didn't mind it. It was fine. It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it was a serviceable watch. And like it was fun for what it was. But Ian, I'll get your thoughts and then we'll go back and forth.
All right. Yeah, no. I actually I kind of liked it. I thought it was fun. It wasn't like the best thing I've watched in a while, but it's definitely better than some of the movies we've watched this year. Mm-hmm. Which honestly, I was expecting it to. I was like, the way it looked and everything. I was kind of expecting this movie to be kind of like not good. I just say like I was expecting it to not be a very good movie, but I was pleasantly surprised about how much I enjoyed it. Now I do think, like I did like the, the practical effects, and I like that that's coming back. Like, honestly, with the way CGI costs now, it probably is cheaper to just do practical, which I'm glad to see. I like the way the pumpkin looked. I like the story and the lore behind, like what it was, what it was trying to do. Like I felt like they kind of knew what they wanted to do, and like I felt like they actually like accomplished what they were trying to do. I think some parts could have been a little bit better, but overall, I felt like it was a pretty solid movie for a crappy little Hulu original Halloween movie. So yeah, I'm glad that you know that this kind of stuff is getting more popular. I'm tired of the same like slasher movies over and over again, or and I was been craving a creature feature for a while.
Yeah. And again, there hasn't really been like just like a killer pumpkin since like the Tales of Halloween anthology, where like
Yeah,
No Marshall did that one with the killer pumpkin, and like that was the one of like I really enjoyed that one. So it's definitely more a feature of that. Um, and again, I like the aspect of it of like the pumpkin's just like mad because it's watching its other pumpkin friends get murdered.
yeah,
Just like
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with the babies, I thought that was interesting, and I feel like there could be a sequel. Like I don't think it's necessary, but they did set it up for another one. So
Yeah, that's the one thing they did with the short though, is like they kind of made the pumpkin more cartoonish because they gave it actual face and teeth and like eyes. Like I think they did a good job just like making it not cartoony and just making it just like a
yeah,
rotting pumpkin and
yeah,
just so
I
that was
love
kind of a
that.
good choice.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Like, that it kind of had a face, and like
And like the vines coming out of its eyes where it's like sort of like crying in a way.
yeah, I and like the whole like purpose was that it wasn't just going after anyone either. It was just going after the people who were carving pumpkins. And I was like, that's a really nice little story hook, because it sets up for like the big chase toward the around the middle to end of the movie. So I liked how it like they actually put like a decent amount of thought behind of what they were doing. Um, I didn't feel like anything was like super pointless, other than the dude in the corn suit
Hmm.
eating shrooms and getting high and dancing and stuff. But and so some of the talking kind of was a kind of a bore.
Yeah, it
But
kind of
other
goes down that we're trapped situation, so let's just do the normal tropes. It just like felt that way. Like we're trying to get away. Even the slasher tropes like that, where it's just like I mean, technically it is a slasher, but it's a pumpkin. So
Yeah, no, that's what I enjoyed about that too. I was gonna actually say like it is kind of a slasher movie, um, with the pumpkin's using knives, even though
mhm.
it can like stab through people. And I was like, because at first when I thought about it, I was like, why is it using knives? With the opening scene and stuff. And then you're like, oh, that's why, kind of moment. And I was like, that's actually kind of smart, to add that little detail in there. And I don't know, I was really excited about this, you know, kind of like, I don't know, I got a little perky after watching this movie because it was fun. I had
Yeah,
a great time watching it
yeah, it's
just because
definitely again, it's not insufferable. It's exactly what again what you would expect it to be. I mean, there's actually some again the gore was a nice added touch,
oh
and
yeah.
it again it wasn't too terrible to watch, and it was easily digestible. So it was perfectly perfectly fine what it was. yeah, I didn't really, again, like he said, it was just, again, a little slow towards the end. It kind of had that really big, front part of the festival and the carving. And I think after a while, it just kind of lost a little bit of steam.
Oh
Um,
yeah, definitely.
it just didn't have that throughout. Again, that's about the only problem I kind of had with it. I mean, again, it just kind of lost a little bit of steam towards the end, um, where it just wasn't able to keep up the pace of like the beginning. Um, once the murdering happened, and I mean,
Yeah.
again, there's some good parts, but it just didn't feel. It wasn't able to keep up with the pace, and that's the only really main drawback I had with it. And again, we always compare these to candy bars, and I was unsure. This is another one where I like it's good, but it has its faults. And again, I was thinking, you know what, I could do like a Kit Kat bar, but like make it a pumpkin spice. But I can't really say that. Um, so I'm going. I mean, it's still good, but it has that slow part at the end. So I'm going Butterfinger because it's real good. You love to have a Butterfinger, but you have to sit there and you just have to pick at your teeth to get all the stuff out of you. So I'm going with the Butterfinger.
Yeah, it's good when you're. Yeah, I see. I definitely see that because it's good when you're eating it, but like you start or as you're halfway through, you start to slow down on it because you're like, gotta pry my teeth apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Oh my god. I was actually trying to think of a candy bar myself. Um, and that's.
I mean, you can pick Butterfinger too, man. If it works for.
Oh, I was trying to remember the one. I actually thought of one earlier, but I kind of forgot. I'm gonna have to say, trying to think of a candy bar that I always enjoy, but like, cause I'm still waiting for us to get a Reese's.
Yeah.
A movie. I'm probably not. Uh, hmm. That's These candy bar analogies are a lot harder than they seem. Like, because you're just like, there's a couple of hundred different candy bars out there, and I don't remember that they all exist until each year when we were trying to make an analogy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go instead of just like you know, yeah, it's still candy. I'm gonna say a Twizzler, like
Mm.
you know, the small ones that you get in the little 2 packages. Like it's really good, but like you just wish that there was more of it. Uh, like it's got a nice little flavor, uh, but a little dull. Like it's not as flavorful like the kind you get at the movie theater. And it's a little chewy, but it's still like it's pretty good. You enjoy it, or at least I do. Um, I always go for those the first because this is honestly what I was kind of hoping for in a out of this marathon was something just goofy, uh, a little bit fun, nothing too serious, and I felt like that's it hit the mark. It's not my favorite, but like I did enjoy it. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. It's
All right.
the little small Twizzler. I just yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, it's still good. I mean, like I said, like with the Butterfinger, it's still good, but then it just kind of loses its steam as it goes along a little bit. I mean, you still enjoy the taste of it, man. You're just sitting there picking your teeth, and like you have a good little bit here and there to get out, and like, oh, finally, finally something. But nonetheless, I still, like I said, I still dug it for what it was, and I agree with Ian there. It's just it's a perfectly serviceable little movie. And it has its moments, and it's it's what you would want. It's like last year with like Totally Killer. It's just like it's fun. That's all you really want out of it, and it's nothing amazing, but it's fun. And so that this one is like last year's Totally Killer in my book, where like that one is the standout. Like so far, this one's the standout. And again, it's nothing amazing, but it's fine, and it has some good practical moments and some good gore. The sentient pumpkin's always fun to watch. I mean, nothing wrong with that. And the look of it's good, and like the characters are interesting enough. It's just again standard slasher trope characters, but with the pumpkin. So it kind of has fun with that, knocking at the genre a little bit there. Just like the guy says, well, what if I make a slasher movie, but it's a pumpkin? It's just like, so it's just kind of fun and play on that. And like I said, it has that, one of those is like Sci-Fi Channel would be like getting people hyped up for this Halloween, like they'd be doing all kinds of commercials, like 9 o'clock showing this Saturday. So it felt like something like Sci-Fi Channel would throw on there for a premiere. So it's fun, and it has its fun times, and it just loses a little bit of steam later on. But I still thought it was fun, and that's about honestly. I don't really have much else to say, really. Ian, you got any final thoughts?
None that I can think of, honestly. I feel like we hit what everything we needed to talk about. So
yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and call it a show then. We will be back with another one. And then we're probably gonna be doing something special come the Halloween special, because we plan on going live on Halloween. Fingers crossed. And we got a little special little something to end out the year, not the year, but the marathon, because we usually like to sometimes throw in a special film for these, and there's one I have in store, so we got that going. So I'm looking forward to that, and our show beforehand, as always. Ian, it's always great talking with you, and I appreciate everyone for listening, and we will see you next time on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night.